out of control. First lesson learned, spaghetti squash put on an insane amount of fruit. I thought like one spaghetti squash would give me 4, 5 spaghetti squashes if I was lucky. I can't remember. I think I planted 2, and fast forward, there are at least 20 spaghetti squash in and amongst, if not more. That is a lot of spaghetti squash. That is more spaghetti squash than anyone wants to eat. Comment below uses of spaghetti squash, because I'm not even sure I want one. But I can grow spaghetti squash. I found in here, this is my looking staff, because I planted everything too closely and you can't see anything and what's going on. But I have my stick, and I found in here one of the king spaghetti squash. Can you see it?
Yeah.
But there are a gazillion hiding. And spaghetti squash is a winter squash, which takes forever to mature.
Yeah.
I think this giant leafed boss here is the Hubbard. So maybe we need to go on the other side. My stick of discovery, can't find it. There are some great positives occurring, those being the watermelon and cantaloupe. Super happy at getting a ton of production. I think we're on our like 10th cantaloupe at this point, maybe 5th watermelon. They're ripe, they're delicious, I'm loving it. There's so many left to come. I think I have counted 10 more watermelon. The only issue is a critter has found the delicious cantaloupe and is helping himself each evening to a cantaloupe. I've lost 3 now. Each evening they're munching. I have 3 delicious cantaloupes right here, and I'm thinking I might put a laundry basket over it tonight, weighted down. So that's a positive. Melons doing well. Down here, not doing so well, but still seeing fruit, is my honey nut butternut squash. The squash bugs just find this to be the highest delicacy, which is why it looks like carnage. I have fruit, and so really what it seems like is we are in a race between getting to harvest and bugs winning. I'm optimistic if we can get them to last maybe until end of September, we can actually start harvesting, but the bug pressure is extraordinarily high in this field. A couple weeks ago, we noticed the female fruit show up, and we have pollinated pumpkins on so many of them. So just like with the butternut squash, we are in a race to harvest versus bug. Because I stupidly planted everything so close, we were monitoring every other night for squash bugs, eggs, treating it because we could maneuver, lift up leaves, get the vacuum in. Now we can't even get through the patch. So really it is a survival of the fittest free-for-all. We are doing our best to still remove eggs when we see them and getting guys that we see, but it is apparently squash bugs' life cycle is unending. Like, ignore Google. Google's like 1, maybe 2 egg hatching sessions before they die. No, it is like reproduce, 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 reproduce forever until frost kills them. So we're on like hatching number 5 and more. So I'm angry about it. Can you tell? I can't see my tags anymore. I don't know what it is. I'm on the better side for the spaghetti squash, but as you can see, pretty much everything you see that looks like, oh, is that a pumpkin? No, it's a spaghetti squash. There's 4 and 5. There's 6, 7. There's 8. There's 9. 10, 11, 12. I can see 12 from here. 13. We got a lot of spaghetti squash. I am a cantaloupe, watermelon, and spaghetti squash farmer. The rest is trash. And sadness of Bugville. It is so nice to come into the flower field section, which is thriving and doing wonderful. My zinnias are pumping out a crazy amount of stems for my bouquets every week. They are healthy. I don't see any signs of disease, which I know is going to come in September, but for now they're healthy. My succession planting is working out great. The big boys are going to wind down soon, and these guys are going to be the stars of the bouquets coming up. The yellows and oranges and corals are making me so happy in their uniqueness. And this little patch for my daughter, where she gets to practice learning how to harvest and take care of flowers, is working out wonderfully, and it is filled with so much color. I love it. The flower farm is doing wonderfully. I've sold, give or take, 80 bouquets already. Since I started in July, I cannot believe it. My sweet little 10-row patch is pumping out stems. I really think people are loving them, and I'm so excited to double it next year. As wonderful as everything is going in the flower field section, my biggest failing has been the sunflowers. I did a wonderful job of planting at least 200 in the beginning. They were flying out of the flower stand. People were requesting them and loving them, and then I majorly dropped the ball in succession planting. I let the gap between a planting and the next one get way too far apart. So I'm currently just sitting and waiting for the next section to bloom. Next year, I need to do a better job of not letting that gap form, because people love sunflowers and they do so well here. I am going to be planting out 2 full rows to make up for it, which is going to be over 300, maybe even 400 sunflowers that are going to be blooming in September and October, which is honestly when people want sunflowers the most with their fall decor. So I will be able to salvage the mistake, but note for next year. Aside from the sunflowers, my gladiolas have been the stars of my flower bouquets. I am loving it. My first succession is almost done that I planted. I've got a couple corals that look like are going to bloom, but most of these are spent, and the next section is already starting to bloom. I planted about 380 here, which is crazy, and I'm loving it. And I'm largely being able to keep up cutting and selling them and not losing too many of them. But the ones that got away from me, or I didn't harvest in time, instead of cutting them and bringing them inside or just trashing them, I've been leaving them on their stems because I have wonderful sweet little hummingbirds that love to visit. But my favorite part is in the evening. My big fat fuzzy bumblebees like to sleep inside the flowers, and I'll come out here and I'll look in the flower stems, and they'll just be like head first with their little fuzzy bee butts sitting out, sacked out asleep in the early morning or at night. So they're little bee homes, little bee beds that I'm leaving for them. As much as I'm grumpy about the squash bugs and the cucumber beetles and some lessons learned in the pumpkin patch and the failings of the sunflowers, those are really just lessons learned for next year that I will get better as I go. But considering this is our first year in Oklahoma, our first year growing here, we did not do much to the soil. We just tilled and planted. I'm really happy. I'm really thrilled. I love coming out here every day to harvest flowers for the roadside stand. I love the color out my window when I'm in the kitchen cooking, and I really do hope to get some pumpkins that survive in October for, at a minimum, decorating the porch for fall and maybe even carving a pumpkin or two with the kids. So this is a cheerful area. It's a wonderful area, and I can only imagine next year when it's double. An orange Cosmo, Bright Lights Cosmo, the only survivor of that sad planting.